Hey there, Boots Owen here. This is a Miele washing machine down in my cellar. It's a commercial or light industrial Miele sluice machine. You can see it's got no pump on the front. That motor runs a sluice directly down from here. I bought it on a popular internet auction site for the princely sum of £2 sterling. I watched it for a long time, and the caveat on the listing was that if you bought it, you had to get it out of a cellar. And luckily, my friend Andy Lee, and I'll put a link to his channel over here. Andy helped me pull it out, and here's a video briefly of us dismantling it, and well, then we had to haul it up a load of stairs. I don't have any video of that and all of the associated swearing. Have a look at that, and then I'll come back to this. Model WS5073 sluice. I bought it, I don't know, a week ago today. It's quite a substantial machine. I've got it up on a trolley at the moment. It's quite a substantial kind of light commercial machine. It came out of a hostel in the middle of Wales. Let's have a look at the board on it, or the ratings plate even. WS5073 sluice, fabrication number, article number, M number, 3N AC 380 to 415 volt hertz, so it's 3-phase AC, 400 volts, 50 hertz. But it has a sticker here. This machine has been converted to 240 volts, 32 amp fuse, which is pretty big. Most of that is because there's two elements on it, which we'll have a look at eventually. 8 kilowatts. So you would need to plug it into 3 13 amp plugs to get that out of it. 3 16 amp fuses, 3 13 amp fuses. Yeah, so 3 13 amp plugs give it 8.5 kilowatts. That's the element. It doesn't say what the element is. There's two elements in it. The motor is 0.2 or 0.6 kilowatts, I guess, for run and spin. Don't know what that is. The diameter of something. 560 mil. I don't know what these are. They're all written down in the manual. That's all. Is that all motor ratings? No, drum ratings. Okay, so that's drum diameter 560. 300 deep, is it? Or is it the door size perhaps? Rated to 1200 spin. That's per rev, or revs per minute. Volume 73 liters, 7.5 kilos. Kinetic energy, I guess. Not that that's very helpful. I don't know what these guys are. Okay, nothing there. Made in Germany, as it's a Miele. It has 4 inlets for water: cold, warm, cold, and 3 inlets, 2 colds and 1 hot. But it has, they split into 6 inlets inside, so there's a hot and a cold, and then one splits into 4. It has this thing here, which is a soap drawer. So it has a soap drawer that goes on top. The soap drawer goes on top, and that is accessed through a panel in the top of the machine. It drains into this drawer, which is not accessible from the front, but it's some kind of a rear dispense unit. So that's the rear of the thing, and somehow it dispenses in here. I'm not entirely sure about that, and I think I might leave that out, because the only issue I've found, well, 2 issues I've found so far, and I've never run it, so I don't even know if it works. 2 issues, we'll come to them. It drains through those, and then through a hose, which is over here on the workbench. And the hose clearly has a hole, so that's issue number 1, and it was clearly leaking, and it's gone down and made everything rusty down below. So from here, where the hose goes into the front of the machine, everything's rusty, the shock's rusty. Somehow the pump has escaped. I think it had a cover on it, actually. I've taken it off to disconnect the wires. Rusty, 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 rusty. I think that pipe, the outlet pipe, was rusty and leaking as well. but I suspect it works. He was kind of, guy who sold it was kind of vague about what was wrong with it, so I presume there's nothing wrong with it and they were just kind of fed up with it, or it was leaking too much. He did say leaking. Over on this side, you've got the pressure hose. It goes to a thing on top. We'll have a look at that circuit board. You've got this hose here, which goes to this unit here, which is another dispense inlet for detergent or something. I don't really know what they're for. If you know any of what these things are for, tell me about it in the comments. It's helpful to me. I'll learn something. The manual's pretty slim. I've got a user manual which you can find online, but I can't find a service manual, and in my experience Miele washing machines have the wiring diagram in them. This one didn't, which isn't particularly helpful, but it's been used a few times. It's been opened a few times before, I would say. I saw somewhere, if I could find it, there was a sticker somewhere here and here. There it is. 10002, so 11th of the 1st 02. I presume this is 2002 as a machine goes. There's the fascia. It's very like the sluice machine I had before. I've given all of it a bit of a clean, but nothing major. I've scraped out a load. This was full. That top groove was full of soap. The top of the machine goes in there, and what I noticed was that we've got corrosion down here. Don't know what that's from, but I also noticed that there's corrosion coming through the aluminium from the soap that was sitting on top. And that's no big deal to me. I'm not fixing this up to sell it. I'm not fixing it up really to use it because I don't really want it. It's just too big. I don't really want to run it, but the reason I bought it was kind of one of those, it wasn't even a late night auction, but it was an auction that ended and the thing was £2 and I just happened to have a bid in on time. £2. So that's the wiring for door interlock. That's the door, really heavy duty, I think aluminium door. Here's the rope to pull to open that. That opens. Inside, it's not got a seal. It's not got a rubber door seal like regular washing machines. It's just got a gap. And looking in there, if we can see, in there, no, it's not so bad. I can see some pink fluff, but the camera somehow, you can just about see it. There's fluff in there. I don't know how it is for lime scale, nor do I particularly care. I can't tell. If you look in here, for instance, that looks like scale, but it might also be just washing powder scale. It's probably a mix of both. I don't know if it's a hard water area or not. Again, on top of the door, there's the model number, or the, I don't know, fabrication number, manufacturing number, but it's WS5073 sluice again. Looking at this thing, that's stainless, which is rare on a washing machine. This is solid cast iron on the front. Huge weight. This thing weighs an awful lot, and there was a lot of swearing removing it from its position in a cellar in Wales. Rear spider, solid cast, big cast aluminium pulley. Motor's a bit noisy, could be brushes. I'm not going to worry about that now. Sluice out, so the water comes straight out the back. There's a bracket there, which is for some reason come loose, but that bracket would hold that pipe on. Self-tapping screws, so they're not original. Self-cutting and tapping even, they're not original. What was I going to show you? That's the front of it. So there's an inner fascia and an outer fascia. This will be clear in subsequent videos, but they just rub independently. It's not suspended like a regular washing machine. There's no suspension springs, so it's just freestanding on four dampers. And even that front one, that's completely corroded, while the ram inside is corroded. It's still damping. Like, I can't do anything about it. I was going to describe this sluice out here. There's the motor, cruise edge motor, made for Miele, 20 revs per minute. So it comes on, spins very slowly, pulls this lever down, which runs a Bowden cable, that black cable there, over to this guy, which is the sluice unit on the bottom. The cable comes up there underneath. Let's see. In there, and if I pull the lever, can we see here? Watch the bottom of the rubber. It pulls down, basically like taking the plug out of a bath. And it seems to work just fine. I noticed that rubber is not correctly fitted there.
I don't know if that would cause it to leak. I could try and fix that. I don't really want to because it's a bit of a nightmare, and I think it's outside the plug. I think the plug plugs up here. This rubber here has gone pretty stiff. All of the wire clips that hold things on are pretty ropey. I could try loosening them, but like that's really rusty there. Rusty up on top as well. Like you can see, it's, if it isn't leaking from here, it's certainly looking a bit crusty. Should get the vacuum on that. It's got rust there underneath the front of the tub as well. But, well, I think it's working. I don't know. I think I'd run it without the side on to see if it's leaking when I run it first. And so then the last bit to look at today is this colossal board up on top. Here's the wires going to the solenoids. 8 solenoids, I think it was. Yeah, 8 solenoids for water in. That's the door interlock. There. I folded it all up a bit. These guys, they go to the elements, and they should be fairly self-explanatory. Can I see the elements actually? Yeah, I can. So the elements are down here, and there's, I thought there was 2, there's 3 of them. Yikes. So there's one element there, one in the center with a thermostat, or a, what's that called? Temperature sensor of some description. Can't remember what they're called. And a third one that's all gobbed in with silicone, which is just a bit grim. But they're there, so they could be leaking. But I think what's happening is, like I said, this white thing or above that's leaking. It runs down the front, down that cast iron, down to the bottom there, and that's why it's all rusty. And that didn't happen last week, you know, it's been like that for a while. Power comes in here at the back of the machine, I think that's the back. Power comes in, live and neutral. It's been rewired to send it this way. It's got 2 mains suppressor units. Presumably that's a 3-phase thing. Don't know about that myself. It goes over to here. I think they're some kind of relays. I can't remember on Miele. And there's another unit over here. And bizarrely, there's this thing which is just a micro switch sitting on the bottom, and I'm wondering if that's missing like a lever arm that sits on top of the machine, because this would rest just above the machine. And if it is, I'll figure it out, and if it's not, if it doesn't work, well, I'll have a micro switch that'll fit there because of the way it's clamped on. I can rebuild that without much problems, I'd say. Or we can just hold the thing in. If it's some kind of an over vibration thing, or it's probably overloading, so if the switch is on, then the machine's okay, and if it's off, the drum has fallen too far, maybe. There's your pressure switch, and I've been looking at it for a while now, but there's no wires attached to the back of it, and I don't remember pulling any off it, but I might have. The motor goes on there, I think. No, the motor goes on over here. That's the motor connector over here. So there's 2 boards, and I think this board here is the main control board, and this board over here is a motor control board. And because of the arrangement on it, I think it's a DC board, a DC inverter, or, well, glorified rectifier basically. But there's loads of little FETs there. What would they be called? If we could see them. 64BC20KD. Or 13 or 137F. Maybe they're not FETs. They look like FETs to me. Big cap, transformer, choke, relay. That's all I can think of. And so that makes me think it's a lot like this machine, which is the Bosch WFP3300 hydro sensor, which does have that DC changeover thing. So it's running single phase into DC to the motor, and it gives a, I thought, a smoother motor feeling over there, but that's that. The belt, genuine Miele belt, but it looks a bit like it's not time expired. It's still got life in it. It's still attached, but looks like it's seen a bit of use. The motor down below is very clean. It's just very clean. No issue at all. It's got a little rain hood on it, and it seems to have worked. Likewise, this motor here, it seems to have worked as well. What I was thinking for this sluice out thing is that I suspect, because of the location of it, I suspect you get a different plastic thing with a standard Miele down and in pump that goes to a rubber thing here, which would be pretty universal with the domestic ones that I've seen of this period. What was that, 2002? And it would have the same two wires, so when it comes to a drain phase, the motor goes on and it just keeps tripping at the end of a worm gear to pull that Bowden cable tight. So there's no great loss. It's so basically what I'm saying is that it runs in exactly the same way as a pump. So this just stays on, holding the plug down, or the sluice, holding the sluice down for as long as it's in its drain phase. That rubber's okay, it's not leaking, but everything is a bit expired on it. The other place it was leaking, I think, was here. From here on, it has this is European style or German metric fittings, and then it was fitted into English fittings. That's the gas boiler just tripping on, that noise. Into English fittings with a bit of silicone, and the silicone hadn't bonded to one of the plastics, so it was probably just dripping. But it's this stuff here is the real issue, all this rust in the bottom and over here. And like I said, I think it's coming from this hose. This hose has a part number 5602101. Looked for that online, can't be found, or maybe I did find it and it was like 50 quid. Remember, I paid 2 quid for the machine. But you can get ones that seem to be the same shape up here, but a bit longer. And I wonder if this is a special one because of this second soap drawer thing. I wonder if that's what's going on. Don't know. That's what I'm up to. I think it's pretty cool. I think it's a diversion for me to play with. And I've got carpet down in the cellar to keep me nice and warm and comfortable while I'm messing with it. I don't know what you think. I think it's just an interesting machine. I've run one of these high current washing machines in the cellar before, and it was fine. I just run a heavy line across. I've got a big plug in the other cellar, so I can run 40 amps out of there. Single phase, no bother. If it's 32 amps, I thought if it was about 20 amps, I could probably run it on 2.5 cable. But if it's 30 amps, where's that page gone? If it's 3x16 amps, that's in theory 42 amps max. I don't think it's really 42. If it's 8 kilowatts, it's more like 13 and a bit. No, it is closer to 3 times 13. 38, 39 amps, 40 amps. It's going to need a big wire, probably 6 mil. I think it was 6 mil going into it. So 6 mil it must be. I think it probably have a bit somewhere. Yeah. You could probably get away with 4 mil for a while if I'm testing it. The other thing I thought was, well, the current is so high because of the elements, and the elements are so many because you want it to boil water quickly. The commercial aspect of these is that they do the wash very quickly rather than a domestic machine that just has one element, it takes forever, but it's on a single plug. I wondered if I disconnected the elements, then it just can't draw the load. Would it notice that there's a failure? Would it not achieve the desired temperature in the correct time? I don't know. There is only one way to find out, but it's a matter of either not reconnecting the elements or running it on a heavy cable, and it's really much of a muchness from my point of view. That's what I'm up to. What do you think? What do you know about a what was it? WS5073 sluice machine. Do you have any experience of them? Let me know in the comments below. If you like this kind of video or my kinds of videos and you want to see more, give us a like and a subscribe. I'd appreciate it. Otherwise, tell me how you're feeling in the comments and tell me what's going on. Thanks for watching. See you later.